Who is excited? The SP 500 is near new highs. Today, 47.20. On December 2021, 2 years ago, we were at 47.66. So let's just say that we're right at new highs. We're within, 46 points of being at new highs. So what does that mean for your buckets? I'm going to go through that here in just a second. First thing I want to note is I'm going to, starting with this video, link the top 10 of my videos. They're going to be, right below after you hit show more. I get asked to make the same videos over and over and over again because new viewers keep coming on and say, hey, can you make a video on how you use buckets? Well, I've got about 20 on that. Can you make a video on Social Security? I've got one on that. Can you make a video, here's the most popular one, on what you're doing about medical insurance? Okay, so I'm going to make that real easy for you to select some of the most popular videos, the common questions that I get. Okay, and while we're at it with some, prequel stuff, make sure you hit like, you subscribe, and leave me a comment. If you can't think of a comment, tell me where you're from. The best comments, other than where you're from, are content suggestions. This is where everything comes from. I get a lot of questions about buckets, so we're going to get right into that. So I happen to have three buckets of money. A lot of people have two. I have three because that's just what I choose to do with my risk profile. Bucket number one, I've got 4 years of expenses in very low risk assets, CDs, money market funds, I-bonds, T-bills, kind of thing. Savings account, checking account. Bucket two is another 4 years expenses. I got that in 60-40, okay? Stocks to bonds, 60-40. Bucket three is 100% stocks, okay? I've talked about that before. A lot of people just don't have this bucket three, and this bucket two is just much larger in something like 60-40 or 70-30, whatever you want to use. Okay, the purpose of each bucket, it's very important, and a lot of people aren't getting this. I can tell from the comments they aren't getting it. Bucket number one is to get you through, pen fell down, is to get you through a bear market, okay? So it's to get you through a 4-year bear market. So the intent is not to intentionally run this down from 4 years to 3 to 2 to 1. I have a cadence where once a quarter, and that's probably a little too often, but just humor me. Once a quarter, I look at each one of the buckets and say, can they do their job? So if the stock market is doing well, like today, and this goes down to 3.75 years, I will actually top that off. So I'll bring this bucket one back to 4 years, okay? And this bucket three may go down, or one. I would take that money from one of these two to always allow me to have the tank full. My 4 years is always ready for the next coming bear. Some people think they just run this down to zero, and then at the end of 4 years, if a bear market comes at the end of 4 years, you're caught. You don't have any money in this fund, okay? So that's very important. This bucket one, you're always looking to top it off when the market is back to new highs. So that's really the focus of today's conversation, is when to refill bucket one. Use the same logic for bucket two. Bucket three is the source of that money. What's important is you don't want to be selling stocks when stocks are low. So just as a simple example, say my bucket three is down 50%. It goes down 50%. I had $1 million in there, and I was planning on pulling out 4%, which is $40,000. And then it goes down 50% to $500,000. Well, now if I pull out $40,000, that's an 8% withdrawal rate instead of a 4%. That's very simply why you don't want to pull out of the stock market when stocks are down. You want to have something else low risk. Also, when you look at buckets, buckets is not the best setup for maximizing your returns, okay? That's important to understand. There are other ways to maximize your returns. I could put it all in the stock market, okay? You could do that. Retirement is about taking risk off the table. You want to be able to sleep at night. When the market goes down 40 or 50%, you don't want to have to like, okay, let's go eat rice and beans, as Dave Ramsey says. You want to live your life. So this is a safety for me, bucket one. It's a safety. Now, right now, we're getting pretty good returns in bucket one. I talked about that in a previous video. Actually, the one right before this, previous video. So that's the purpose of each bucket is this is 4 years, and then starting in year 9, this is really going to hit. That's the snapshot in time where at every quarter, everything advances. Okay, so now I'm going to give an example of when to refill buckets, you know, right now, and I'm going to use real numbers, and when not to refill, okay? In this example, bucket one has $160,000 in it. Let's say that's 4 years of expenses at $40,000 a year. $40,000 a year, 40 times 4, 160. Bucket two has the exact same amount. Bucket three has $680,000 in it, and that's supposed to last 9 years to lifetime. It's not important what these numbers are. What's important is the logic and the decision-making that goes along with it. And this is very similar to what I use. These are not my numbers, but I wanted to use real easy math. Also, I'm not factoring in, you know, interest that you may be earning on this money, returns on this money, not factoring that in, just to make this very simple. Okay, so let's go. Let's look. We're going back in time to the year 2021 in December. The SP 500 was at 47.66. So end of the year, stock market was at a new high. Bucket one is at $160,000. We just refilled it up. Stock market's going like gangbusters. Keep every quarter, I have that cadence to look at my buckets and top off bucket one. I just topped it off, so I'm not going to take any action after topping it off. Let's fast forward 1 year. And again, I do this once a quarter, but I don't want to do every quarter. In 2022, in December, the SP 500 is at 4,000. You know, like a 20% drop. Now, those aren't actual numbers. I'm just using this as, boy, it's a 20% drop. Stock market is down. Remember, stock market is down. I don't want to take money out of the stock market when money is when it's down. Don't want to do that. May have to, but don't want to. So bucket one is now down to $120,000 because we spent $40,000 during this year, 160 to 120. We spent $40,000. What action did we take? None. The stock market is down. We can't refill buckets. This bucket two probably is down a little bit. This one's down 20%. So we take no action. No action. Now we're going to fast forward to December of 2023. S&P 500 is at 47.20. That's what it was, right, as I started recording here. So it's essentially back to new highs. So, hey, bucket one is actually down to $80,000 because we lived 2 years, 160 to 120, down to 80. So, hey, market's back at new highs. It's okay to sell stock now. We're going to refill that, okay? Now, I look at this, and these are, rules these are rules that I use, okay? But they're not necessarily right. Choose what you want to do. So at this point in time, I can choose option A here to refill bucket one back to full. So I can take bucket one, which is currently at 80, and I could fill it up to 160. Okay, so that means I need to take $80,000 from one of these two buckets, and top it back off. Then I have another 4 years, and I'm ready for the next bear market to hit. That makes sense? Now, another thing you can do, if you're kind of leaning in and, want to get a little more aggressive, this is an aggressive move, can do a partial refill of bucket one. So bucket one's at half full, right? Here's full, here's half full. So what about if we just made it 3/4 full? What if we just took $40,000 and topped bucket one off to 120, so I have 3 years in it, and then maybe 6 months later, let the stock market go up a little bit, let it push up a little bit more if you think it's going to. and then finally realize, fill it to full in 6 months to the full 160. It's critical you understand that bucket one is there as defense. It's there, it's your defense, your sleep at night, your peaceful, epic retirement lifestyle is locked in by bucket one, okay? You want your long-term growth here, you want your medium-term growth, but you're living in the present. You're living off this 160, and you don't, you want that protection. Again, like I said, bucket one is not the, this isn't the best approach to maximize returns, but for me, it maximizes my peace of mind. My peace of mind in retirement, I'm telling you, that's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. Confidence to spend, peace of mind mean everything in retirement. And what you do is you want to take risk off the table. That's what we're doing. The air I see this in the comments all the time, is people every 6 months want to, regardless of what the stock market is doing, they want to fill up bucket one. Just keep filling it up. No, the purpose of the bucket approach is to only sell stocks when stocks are at or near new highs and not sell them when they're low. Now, you could come up with your own rules. If the stock market's just down 5%, you can go ahead and fill up. If it's down 10%, you can go ahead and fill up. But if it's down 50%, that 4% withdrawal rate is going to be 8% withdrawal rate if the stock market is cut in half. So be very, very careful. That's how you can run out of money in a hurry. And that's what the bucket system protects you against, selling stock when it's low and giving you peace of mind. Hopefully this makes sense. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments. I keep trying to explain this in different ways so that it sticks. And, I'm missing with some people. Again, check out the attached links for popular videos, especially on healthcare. I'll do just my most popular 10 on there. Anyway, hey, there you go. It's a great time. It's Joe out.